thank you very much, Sam, for the intro and a great panel talking about UX and UI and user engagement and how you can deepen that engagement as an operator. And it's great to have you all here. And yeah, let's kick it off and talk about what users expect from UX and UI and how you can engage and what do consumers really want. And I think we all have been consumers of services and experienced the hurdles to find what we really want to see and what we want to watch. And yeah, and often looking for content and services, but also facing some frictions to reach what we really been interested in. So from a UI experience, who wants to go first? I know that Brigita had some really good comments in the beginning when we started preparing this session about what consumers really want and how difficult it is also to reach as an operator the consumers.
Hello to everyone first. I'm not sure if it's...
Yes.
Okay, now it's coming. I think it's getting a bit interesting because who is the customer today? It used to be that if we talk about streaming and OTT, then it's a rather younger generation and they are all rather technically capable. But now all of the services that are maybe reaching end of life, they still have customers on them that are now moving to OTT and are maybe from a bit older generation and maybe technically a bit less advanced, and their expectations are different. As an operator, it means that we need to cater the user that is 20, that is 50 and is 80, and they are all using the same UI soon. It used to be that they're using different ones, but now they're all merging into one. And as most operators have also said, it's quite challenging because the expectations are very different, but the starting point is the same. They have been very loyal customers, the older generation, and we all want to keep them loyal. And also what I think it was mentioned yesterday is that the life cycle of the younger generation as a customer is longer, but the older generation, they still have 20 years to go or 40 years to go. My mom's and my grandma's capabilities technically, they're not very different. They have like 30 years of age in between, but technically they're not so different. So it's tricky because for younger users, we want to offer the experience of having everything and having all the whistles and everything they expect. At the same time, we have to think that the older generation needs a more simplified UI.
So it's not getting more complex from the device perspective, from a platform perspective, also from the fragmentation of the audiences.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah.
Because it used to be, also when I started in TV, we had 2 set-top boxes basically that we had to cover, and then some other devices as well. But it was fairly simple. When we moved to OTT, well, we have the Android set-top boxes that we have 2 of. Then we have all different kinds of TVs that we have to support. With TVs, the most tricky part is that all models have their own angles, and we have to support all of them. Are they the expensive one? Are they the cheap one? They behave differently. Their capabilities are different, but we have to support all of them. And in the same year group of models, the different models can have different capabilities, and it's making it more and more tricky. Then you add on top all different kinds of mobile phones and computers, and then on top of that you put the older user who ends up in the Smart TV. And then we can also remember Maria's presentation yesterday of shopping channel from TV. I don't know what the grandparents would do there.
Besides, I would say the complexity of the devices and the UX, but also I think finding what you really want, right? And so I think we had some conversation about that, Chris, and you had some good examples also. That is also keeping the customer engaged and increasing customer lifetime value and all the KPIs that we are so familiar with. But
I think just to echo what Brigita says, is there's now a period where you almost have to lean in with regards to the user interface towards the segment that you're addressing. Some of the UIs that are out there can be really intimidating. They can be really comfortable for under 35. They can be really kind of overwhelming for over 65. And so having the ability inside your platform to really layer what the experience looks like towards the segment that you're addressing, what the underlying platform capabilities, and really kind of enabling the various use cases. Although you exercise them maybe in different ways, in the end it's still about consuming a piece of content, being able to pause and start it, or being able to record it, or just kind of take it on the road. There's so many use cases that are very similar across. Sorry, my phone is actually going. So I think the key thing is that layering we need to address in a better way, because in the old world, the device and the experience were really integrated. So going towards a situation, and that's enabled by the tech that we've got, to say, okay, hey, we just have the hardware, and the hardware is just a dumb device. And you got your back end where all the business logic sits, and the experience you're leaning into the segments that you're addressing. That's the way to go. Yesterday I had a discussion with my colleagues about kind of TikTok style interfaces, and we're porting them into TV experiences as well. But at the same time, something like a guide, you also want to still facilitate that. TV guide as an instrument is already proven for the last 25, 30 years. People understand it, people know how to navigate it, but it's not for everyone. So, yeah.
And the users that go in from TV Guide is still a really, really big amount of users.
I fully agree what has been said so far. So, I mean, we launched 2 years ago our Android TV product. So we still have the guide, of course. We have now a home screen which is more content oriented with rails for all the streamers, Netflix, Disney Plus, you name it. And each of them can be very daunting for a specific group of users. So the home screen is daunting for more the traditional viewers who still go to the guide, and the other way around. So the guide can also be daunting to more the streamer viewers, let's say. So what we are trying to do is to bridge both of these experiences. So we are, for instance, in the guide, we are introducing links to launch Netflix or Disney Plus, the apps, and the other way around. So there is a lot of very good content in the guide, which is not exposed on the home screen. So we are like picking out, like for instance, movies on TV. We are picking them out from the grid, and we are creating a rail on the home screen. So together with Netflix and Disney Plus, we say, okay, these are the movies which are on TV, and we expose them in a different way. So in this way, we are trying to bridge a little bit both worlds. Yeah.
I think it's basically finding the ideal mix between all kinds of content that's nowadays available in the platform. So past years were obviously all about aggregation, super aggregation, getting as much content from various platforms in one environment. And I think right now it's more a matter of discovery, making sure that people can find and discover the content that is suitable for them. And that is nowadays a mix between short form, long form, live content, on-demand content, sports content, ideally all presented in such a way that people don't need to spend 10 minutes actually finding the content of their liking. I think specifically for TV environments, there's so much content available in such platforms, which is refreshed on a daily basis. So the database is huge, especially compared to various VOD platforms. Yet it's still relatively hard to find the content that is relevant to you.
And we all work in TV, we all have a lot of services, and we're quite well acquainted with what is available. But I think if we ask how many of us have had a Friday evening recently where they can't find anything to watch, then most of us would still raise a hand, most likely.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting morning, sort of listening to different people's perspectives and all of the sort of challenges and requirements that I'm hearing right now are echoed across the discussions that we have with our customers at Synamedia. The one sort of common element I hear throughout this morning is the limitations that the devices and the number of those devices that are out there to support place on improving the user experience and being able to innovate as we look forward to the kind of experiences we need. We are of the view that the time has come to really rethink the model of how experiences are delivered to people's screens. We recently announced a new product that is really exciting for us called Synamedia Sensor. And what we've done is we've removed every single piece of hardware we can from that device that's needed in the home and created a tiny little cloud connector device. And everything that you see on the screen, every pixel of the user experience, every change that user experience is rendered in our cloud platform and delivered as video to the device. The reason we think this is needed is because the experiences that we have today, Dan's presentation was fascinating, not a lot has changed, okay? And the problems we're hearing today, I heard 5 years ago as well. So we think this significant change is required to enable us to deliver the kind of experiences that those younger generations need, to deliver personalised experiences. The other thing that's important to us is that it's very accessible. What we're doing is basically enabling any web developer with web development experience to deliver in a browser window and stream that to the cloud connector. So it's really democratizing access to the TV experience. It's speeding up deployment. And really importantly is around future-proofing these services so that as we want to integrate AI, as we want to present more social-like, TikTok-like experiences, we can do that really, really quickly. So that's an important element of what we think is needed to sort of improve the user experience and bring things forward.
And it goes also providing all these different experiences also leads into the question is how you operate these models and how you facilitate all of this.
Yeah.
And I think we have here a few operators also on the panel. I think it's always this question about build or buy or what is the right operating model with this really changing, constantly changing environment and different user groups and even use cases. Any thoughts on that? What is your experience or what is the best practice, what you have learned so far in recent years, what worked, what didn't work?
Well, I can mention an example because it's going a lot around sports, obviously, this morning. And we performed a user test or a POC, actually with Liberty Global last year, which was all around creating, let's say, a fan zone or sports page typically related to your favorite team, club, athlete, or favorite sports event. Not just the sport event itself, but all content around it. So we call it shoulder content. This can be a coach announcing the lineup, interviews with the players, analysts talking about the match the previous day, or that kind of things. All automatically aggregated in one fan zone and environment. So this was tested over 3 weeks with a few thousand users, and the results were quite astonishing because 80% mentioned that they were watching sports content they would typically not be watching, and 70% mentioned that they were watching sports content where they would typically go to another platform for example, YouTube. So this shows that based on the exact same amount of content that you already have in your platform, just by a different way of surfacing it, you can just increase one of the most important KPIs, which is more time spent in your platform.
Yeah. So it's UX and UI goes much further these days than only providing a nice environment to search for content. Right?
It's just to build on what Roland says.
Yeah.
Is that if you forget about the devices and hardware, we were kind of too consumed with hardware, but the real business logic sits with regards to obviously what you can do with the content and how to bring those use cases into the UI, whether that's based on a kind of a video recommendation, whether you present it as short, because the content that Roland refers to is not short form content. We just kind of really help customers to bookmark that right content within the long form content so that they can actually jump into a Max Verstappen interview because they really like Formula One, or the other way around, to discover sports because they have actually watched something inside the talk show. So layering, like, okay, I've got my UX, and certain types of user experience are more appealing to certain segments than others. Yeah. So swiping is something that is, I don't see my mother doing that. Yeah. So, but obviously for my daughter, that would be a real way to kind of discover content. So that's an element you can integrate in user experience. You present it to certain audiences in the right way, and the content that's already there. It's like what Roland says. All that content. You've got the linear content, we've got the OTT content based on the metadata, we've got the on-demand, you've got obviously the recordings have been made. It's just finding non-traditional ways to discover those and to make sure that the right audience is exposed to the right discovery mechanism. And that's where I would say that you have to kind of adjust your user interface philosophy slightly. There is no experience that solves for all segments. You need to play around with kind of non-linear experiences, or more maybe streaming first experiences, or sports zones where content is coming together that is grouped from an Amazon documentary together with, I don't know, Eurosport cycling, bringing that all together and at the right time towards the right audience. And the current technology progression is happening with more kind of models, language models that can help go into that discovery, more personalization capabilities. We talked about standardization in the previous panel, so really making that go across the platforms as well. I think that's just helping us to focus on that experience and that discovery.
It's a big challenge, I think, in applying now large language models already in AI to these things. I think it would need to require complete different, not complete, but more advanced skill sets for a provider or for building these services and to addressing all these different use groups and viewers.
It's just work.
It's a lot of work.
And it's hard to do quickly, right? And it's hard to do across particularly like legacy devices that you have almost sort of dragging you down sometimes, right? So I think being able to experiment with those new user experiences is really key to try out those new things. So yeah, I agree.
And if the question is build or buy, partner, I think is the answer. Because you can't build everything from scratch in-house. Just the amount of time and money you put into it, it's not worth it. Buying can be worth it, but it's all about partnerships in that game. And this room also, if I look around, we have a lot of great vendors and a lot of great knowledge and skills and solutions. And it makes sense to partner with the ones that already have it running. Yeah. So if we talk about recommendations, we talk about user experience, it makes sense to partner, in my opinion.
Yeah, but that's really, you need to keep sort of an orchestration layer on the operator side that really is facilitating all of that.
Yeah, I think on our side is, I mean, in general, it's a case-by-case decision we make.
Exactly.
But in general, I mean, everything that's directly affecting the user experience or the user interface, we want to keep close to us. We tend to develop ourselves. For all other stuff, I mean, if we see that there is a product off the shelf in the market that fits our needs, then of course we will go for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not one size fits all. I mean, it really depends, but also I think it's also go to market, time to market, but also to learn and experiment and do some POCs. An example that Roland and Chris shared about the sports content, you need to figure out what consumers really want. And that also leads me into the question, if we think about these different packages for different use groups, but we also think about marketing. So we have different marketing approaches in the future that really give customers more choice. And we just talked about it, that you just introduced something that I found quite interesting and would be great if you could share it with the audience, because I haven't heard it from some incumbent operator, not before.
Yeah, so basically, what we thought of within KPN is how can we strengthen our relationship with the customer on the entertainment level. And well, we are going back to the roots, let's say. So build on the foundation which we are good at, which
Yeah.
is mobile and broadband. And so we launched last month, like, you can call it, we call it Combi discount. So it's like a loyalty program. So basically everybody who gets broadband and mobile from KPN, they get Netflix for free. So that's a very clear, strong message. Of course, yeah, we will, but there is another choice, so you can choose between Netflix and ESPN. ESPN is holding the rights to the Dutch Football League. So basically you can choose between sports and Netflix, and you can change every month. So that's really, yeah, really cool. So far, well, we launched last month, but so far it's been quite successful. And you can build, so that's the level 1 loyalty. You can go up if you get, for instance, an additional mobile subscription for your kids or for your wife. You can move up in the loyalty level, and then you can choose not just between Netflix and ESPN, but you can choose Disney Plus, HBO Max, etc. And you can also change every month. So that's really, I think it's really yeah, a good way to increase our engagement on the entertainment level with the customer, building on our foundation as broadband and mobile operator.
As we also discussed, it goes together with what you have done, is that consumers have historically quite strong expectation of getting discounts and long-term discounts from their TV services. So most likely not the same in every single country, but in a lot of countries I know it's that way. And they usually expect to have like 2-year discount, 1-year discount, 6 months discount, and in best case scenario you can get minus 50% for 2 years. So I think it's quite smart way of finding another option of not giving discount from the TV service that you're offering, so your own service, and also your network services, but you're giving the discount from the Netflix or the ESPN. So it's shifting a little bit also to the other side, because consumers don't have expectation today to go to, for example, Netflix and say, hey, I want to have it for 2 years minus 50%. They won't get an answer to that email, I guess.
I think bringing it back to discovery as well is, in the end, it's still the content-centric. Of course, you buy Netflix because of the brand, but also because you're kind of anticipating Stranger Things in the next season, or you're watching Formula 1 Drive to Survive, or and customers are switching in and out of propositions and all the time. I just kind of canceled my Sky Showtime and started up my HBO Max just to optimize on price. And I think if you bring it back to discovery within the entertainment experience, it's also essential to help customers to show the content that's out there that they potentially also do not have access to, but also complete the journey that they can have access to it. So helping customers to discover what are the right packages for them at the right time. Yeah. You should now actually cancel Netflix because you finished Formula 1 Drive to Survive, and you should actually spin up HBO Max because that really fits your profile, because there's a good documentary around cycling on that one. So it's not just about discovering of content, but also helping the customers to make the right decisions to take their share of wallet and help them to say, hey, this is the right combo for you in this, during this summer. And that's something that you can also weave into the platform. So for example, in Sunrise, we've got completed journeys within the platform where we really take a customer through discovering a piece of content, which leads then to the subscription offer that associates to that. And that's also where the user experience needs to start to lean in also, like become a little bit of a marketplace, because there is the cloud gaming out there that's also kind of seen as entertainment. You've got smart home use cases, you've got Perplexity and ChatGPT subscription you can get access to. So there's a lot of wider opportunities for customers to be entertained, and helping in the user experience to say, hey, this is also for you, is also going to be essential. The discovery goes broader than just the content alone. So it's a bit multi-dimensional there.
Yeah, I fully agree. So, and what Chris says, so basically this is, if I talk to my friends or my family, this is what everybody is doing right now. So you subscribe to Netflix or to Disney Plus for a couple of months, you binge watch, and then you change to another one. we as an operator have a role to facilitate that through the user interface, through a good subscription management system on the set-top box that you can subscribe and unsubscribe easily.
Except for Netflix, you get that hard bundle.
But also you need to understand the consumer much better, right? You need to get like much more data on your side about who's actually in front and who's watching, right? So this is.
And I think data is
Data
exactly the right magic word there, because I think it's a combination of matching user data, which, well, you all have in the platforms, who's been watching, what type of content, at what time of the day, perhaps even on profile level. And if you combine that with content data, for VOD that might be metadata that is already available, for linear there can be much finer grained data. If you match that together, well, then you can create a really sticky environment that we all are used to see in YouTube. Because they know both what's inside the content and they know everything about the viewer. And that's what keeps you scrolling and clicking in YouTube. So if you can, for example, well, you mentioned the example of Formula 1 Drive to Survive. If you know that somebody's been watching that, you might also relate it to linear content or to other shows or interviews or biographies of certain drivers on a totally different platform. And then you're starting to link content together that at first sight might not be linked together, cross-platform. And I think in that way you can keep the user much more engaged than just keeping him in certain reels per platform or because you watch this or other people are watching that kind of recommendations.
Yeah, I don't know if you have really these content for content recommendation, we all know, but we see more sophisticated systems where you can, based on other profiles, what people have continued watching after binging, finishing that. So I think that we need to get much more sophisticated in finding that kind of use groups and cohorts and compare them and saying who has watched this that probably is also interested in others. These solutions are out there, but I think it's data.
What YouTube is doing really well is, and that's what any platform should strive for, is it's really well in connecting the audience with the content owner. Because the content owner has a single interest to obviously monetize the content they have invested in, that they put their hearts and minds in. Yeah. And the customer wants to obviously discover the content so they can actually consume. And that's what YouTube is really doing well. So for us, it's when you build a platform and also taking all the legacies with TV viewing and OTT, you always need to have in the back of your mind, how can I make sure that I most efficiently connect the audience with the content that is being created, because then you're functioning as a platform, and also to help monetize it.
Yeah, there's also another layer to that if you're better in managing the content that the users want to watch it, also when you look from a VOD library perspective, you can also change the way you're licensing content, and you can lower your content acquisition costs because you really get the right content in the mix that really want to be watched and that people want to pay for. Right?
And it has been, we have all been talking about super aggregation for quite several years now. It has been a trendy word in most panels presentations. So now we're back to basics. We're back to finding how can the user actually reach it, how can the user actually reach the amount of content we have. So connecting it together with the sports part, then also making sure that they subscribe to the right service at the right time and they continuously keep on doing that. So it has been said, content is king. We should now move back to that experience is queen. I think we're there now.
It's interesting though, because there've been a few names mentioned. There's been, we talked about YouTube, we've talked about TikTok, we've talked about gaming, right? And that is the competition for engagement, isn't it? There's all these different platforms with fantastic experiences, and I think the sort of home entertainment experience needs to step up and really play in that space and give a user experience that younger demographics are familiar with, whether it's through connectivity with their mobiles, and deliver experiences to different cohorts of users like Brigita described. And it's not possible to do that unless you embrace what the cloud can offer, the graphics processing and the compute power that's in the cloud. So that's what Synamedia sort of is passionate about, enabling these businesses to provide.
And the customer is not as loyal anymore. So we all need to keep on innovating to keep them, because they're not being subscribed for 10 years anymore, as it used to be. Customers' loyalty has been quite high in the older user groups and in the older services, as there have been more, you have been locked into the device and it's easier to get out now, because you don't need to have the device anymore. You can just pick every month, are you watching for free Netflix or ESPN? And the same is with our services, is that you can switch it quite fast.
Yeah, and I think loyalty nowadays, well, there's like 3 reasons for users to choose a certain platform. That's the content, the price, or the user experience. And the latter has become much more important in the past few years, because everybody's raising the bar there. Netflix and YouTube at first, and everybody is trying to keep it at the same pace.
Yeah, and the user experience is also important in finding the content. So it's all related, and it's dependencies there, right? So if you have great content but you can't find it, then the user will be frustrated and move on, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah, unfortunately, we also have to almost move on. Maybe some final thoughts. We have only a minute and a half left to conclude on what we have discussed so far from a quick round of thoughts.
Yeah, maybe Brigita touched a little bit on the topic about smart TVs, other devices. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we have been assuming that we are in control of the device so far, like a set-top box. But of course, on KPN, we have also apps for smartphones, smart TVs. I mean, smartphone is like a natural extension of the set-top box, because you can use it as a companion device or when you are on the move. Smart TV is a bit more complicated because it's the same device. I think from KPN we can say we need to be there because we have a segment, and we are again talking about segmentation and different kind of users. There are users who are expecting us to be there, to be as an app on the smart TV. However, I would say, are we able to offer the same level of engagement as we are on the set-top box? And I would say no, because I mean, it's not the device we control. We are not in control of the user interface. We are just an app in the ecosystem. So for me, the best level of engagement is still reached through the set-top box.
And in the end, we need to be where the user is and offer them the best experience on whatever device they are. But I agree that on set-top box, it's a lot easier to have full control. On the other devices, you are just another app.
I'm sorry to have started this topic in the last minute.
But I think that's a good thing. We need to be there where the user is, right? And I think that's a great closing remark for this panel. Thank you very much, and it was great. And thank you for the audience.